Welcome to the Living Fit Life podcast, episode 67. I am your host, Chad Mueller, and today we have a special sort of quick announcement, special guest, special short episode to talk about the big dog, Adam Jong, and his recent update, his recent communication. If you haven't realized, today on the recording of this is May 11th, which means CrossFit finished their leaderboard and finalized their leaderboard for the age group qualifier on May 10th, which means that Adam has booked his ticket to Madison. So we got first interview. I know he's got lots of calls this morning,
Man.
lots of calls, but we got the first. We got the exclusive. He's gonna have it. He's gonna have an agent soon. So we got him first. Man, first off, congratulations! Huge kudos goes to you. How are you feeling the day after the leaderboard is final?
Oh man, well, I was already tucked in to bed last night before they made the final announcement, so it was a pretty exciting way to jump out of bed, to realize that everyone had already messaged me and congratulated me. So yeah, pretty amazing. I can't really still, like, it doesn't feel super real yet. Maybe when the grind starts and I'm in the thick of it, then it'll feel really real. But yeah, super cool, super excited. Top 10 athletes, couple big dogs. It's gonna be fun.
Yeah. So I mean, the semifinals were like just under 2 weeks ago. So how has that experience been? So since the test, and we'll talk about the test after. But since the test, it's been some time. We know how CrossFit kind of goes through these things, the highs and lows of how CrossFit runs things. How have you been feeling dealing with the patience, the waiting? I don't know what you want to call it.
As the joke is I asked everyone to please cross their fingers as hard as they could, so I was 15th going in, like when all the scores were finalized. I was 15th, and we're like, okay, that puts me in striking range. There's going to be penalties. Stuff's going to happen. The leaderboard was wrong to start, so we were making like our own mock leaderboard as other people were. So then the best thing that happened was all of my scores got validated like almost right away. Like within like 2 days, 3 days, my 4 scores were validated, which was wicked. So then I knew I couldn't go down. I was just now not crossing my fingers that other people would get penalties or drop, but just, there's always a chance. So then I moved to 12th, and then I moved to 8th. And like about 4 or 5 days later, I was in 8th, and I'm like, whoa, this is crazy. And we're like, it's real. And then we're like, no, it's not real yet, because the next day I moved to 9th. And I'm like, oh man. So people are appealing their penalties because it's all online, video submission, whatever. So I guess one of the guys won his appeal. I had won the last workout, then I didn't win the last workout, and then anyways, it's been, I didn't lose sleep. The joke was lots of sleepless nights. I didn't lose sleep, but it was I almost crashed the leaderboard website because I hit refresh so many times on it. But and then yesterday, CrossFit took their sweet ass time until 9 p.m. to finally announce that the leaderboard is final. So anyways, fun way to wake up today. And
Yeah. It's
really,
it's huge, because I think one of the things is like, you're like, for anyone outside of CrossFit, like, so we're talking about the men's age group 35 to 39. So this is like the first age group outside of the quote unquote the elite individual division, and this year is the first year like the GOAT Rich Froning competed, and there's that drama. And Rich has brought, as with everything, he brings a lot of attention to what he does. And there was a lot of drama surrounding him, whether he was going to do it or not. So that's one spot too. And then you have a bunch of his, buddies like Scott Panchek and Dan Bailey, and we got to talk Easy Muhammad. We have like some very perennial like games athletes that have been to the games multiple times. They've stood on the podium. They've been in teams. They've been in elite, and they got this young dad coming into the place, just hanging on. So I mean, and the top 10 go. So it was, what was it, 30 people from quarterfinals to semifinals, and then top 10 go. And that's the crazy part. I've heard a lot of podcasts recently about CrossFit saying that only 10 athletes worldwide from an age group go, which is like crazy when you think about elite individuals. There's 40 athletes that go. So it's like super, super difficult to get in. And like looking at the leaderboard, we have folks from Australia, a bunch from the US. We have France, Iceland. You're the sole Canadian. There's someone from Korea, I think, or Japan. I don't know. So yes, a very international leaderboard minus a few Americans. So tight, but
Crazy,
amazing. Yeah.
And I really had no bit because I just snuck into the semis. I was like,
Yeah.
thing happened. I was like 35th, and then I was 30th, and then I was 28th. So I think I snuck in 28th. But I always said if I could just get to the semis, I feel like the workouts would line up better for me. Like less skill, more aerobic capacity work, more grunt work, more like raw strength work. And then somehow snuck into the top 10 with the big boys.
Yeah. So that's I do want to ask, like, because I forget when this was, but like going back to when did you tell yourself, or when did you come up with this idea that you wanted to? I remember you telling me that you wanted to make the games, and we kind of laughed because at the time it was pretty far out. You were just coming off of your endurance stuff, and you're like, I'll just make the games. Like kind of, I'm sure you took it a lot more serious than how you communicated it. But how did you like? What I don't even know what my question is, but
On
what do you?
November 1st, I finished Ironman World Championships, and then I started just like rebuilding my body because it was pretty beat up from a year of training, pretty much a full year of training. And then for that, and then when we went to Wadapalooza, we did the gauntlet for fun, and that was only like 2 months, just over 2 months after I finished Ironman season. And I felt good. And I'm like, okay, like I'm moving in the right direction, and I'm moving like faster than expected. I thought it would take me like, I don't know, 3 to 4 months to even get my strength back and, my movement back. And it's vastly different sports, but some carryover. So anyways, I at Wadapalooza, I was like, okay, this is pretty fun. It was just the gauntlet, but I'm like, it was more about how I felt. So then going into the Open, I'm like, okay, this could be the year. Last year, I decided to compete in the quarterfinals, like the pro quarterfinals, let's call it, not the age group. And I think I kind of regretted that. It's just because they're different weekends. We had some other athletes at the gym doing it, and I felt like I could have made it to the semis last year in the age group based on the scores and stuff. So when I said I'm going to make it to the semis, and if I make it to the semis, the workouts are going to line up for me, and I'm going to make it to the CrossFit Games. So it was a super stretch goal, but it was like if all the cards, align, then it's going to happen, and it did.
Yeah, and so the Open is a pretty open test. A lot of us do it for fun, and it's a great community builder. Then the quarterfinals. So the Open you generally do pretty well in. You've had good results in the past. Quarterfinals, like you just said, you were part of like the elite group, which is obviously ultra competitive. How did you feel the quarterfinal went for you? Because you were kind of saying earlier that you kind of just barely made it to the next stage.
So I do well in the Open, but I call them like leaderboard destroyers. There's so many anomalies in the Open and in the quarters. Guys who can lift huge weights who can't do anything else, and guys who can, just do cardio and they can't do any skills or strength. So they're leaderboard wreckers. So in the Open, I do well, but like I'm not anywhere. I was 100th going into the age group quarterfinals out of the Open. So I was like nowhere close to being in contention. And I was like, performing at a pretty good level in the Open. And then in the quarters, 3,000 athletes, maybe like 25, 2,000 submit all their scores, whatever. But there's still leaderboard wreckers. So if there's a big lift or if there's, something just singular focused, which Boston does do a better job of making us lift under fatigue instead of just, a max lift. So then I finished 100th in coming out of the open, and then the quarters like 35th when the leaderboard was, or the scores were right away. So the quarters, usually the tests go pretty good for me, but there's always like one score that usually knocks me out of contention. Usually the other 3 or 4 are like put me right in the top 30 where I need to be. Then there's always one. So I guess.
Yeah. You look like, you came 28th. So you were 16th and then 103rd place, a 257th, a 4th, and a 19th. So you're the complex, the weight workout, the heavy weight workout. 2B. What was that? That was shit. What was that? The clean complex? It was the clean complex, I think. Oh, what was that? Workout 2B. Hold on. I need to get my my CrossFit analysis hat on.
Yeah, I know. Sorry. I should have known.
That's okay.
But
I have the leaderboard up. 1 second. Stay tuned. Age group 2B. TS2. That's 2023. Quarterfinal workout. Age group 2. We got 2A was the 10-minute 5 minutes to establish 1 rep max clean. Yeah, it was just a clean.
Then 1 rep max clean. Yeah. So
and you missed
the 3. And I just missed 319, which is 145 kilos or whatever. And that would have put me into like 15th overall if I made that lift, and it just caught it a little forward. But leading up to that, I had not even hit a 300-pound clean going into quarters. Like I'd been training hard, so I hadn't like really tapered or anything until quarters. So I hadn't had a chance to hit any lifts, but when I hit 308, I knew that would at least give me a chance. And then if I would have hit 319, it would have been like guaranteed. But anyways, it ended up being enough. And
and even looking at the excuse me, the names on the leaderboard, like there's some correlation between the top 10 in quarters and semifinals. There's a few, but there are definitely, as you said, there's a few outstanding folks. But like again, you end up 28th, so then you get the quarters. So then I guess once you get the quarters, still are you thinking, now this is my chance, like I'm gonna like take the next X amount of time? Like what was your training leading up to it? Did you feel pretty confident that your semifinals was your chance to actually like get to the games, or were you looking at it as another learning experience?
Yeah. So leading up to quarters, I was still doing like one to 2 runs a week and 1 to 2 bikes a week. And then when I got the final, when I got into semis, I said, okay, I'm cutting that. I'm just going to go Coach Josh, like I'm just going to go all in, get me ready for semis. So we dialed it in. It was only 3.5 weeks, but it made a difference because it got me really able to like focus on all the specific details. So of course I had no business thinking that I could be in the top 10, but I thought, okay, based on the workouts I've seen in the past, there's a chance. It's going to be legless rope climbs. There's going to be, some sort of grunt work. And this year it was like goblet squats and step ups and burpee box jump overs. There's going to be, just that like raw, the rowing, the double unders, and the shuttle runs, like aerobic work. And then, in the semis, it was all about, could I hit a few snatches at 225 to give me a chance? And that was the first workout I did of the weekend. And when I got 4 snatches on that workout, we knew that like somewhere between 4 to 6 snatches would put me in like a decent spot. Not, come in the, either last or in the bottom. But it's so funny because you're right. When you look at the top 10 guys that are moving on, a couple of them, like Rich, Panchik, Sam Dancer, like they put up huge numbers, but it's the other guys in the top 10 are like, not necessarily the biggest lifters, but the best all around athletes.
Mm-hmm,
They
mm-hmm,
have
mm-hmm.
consist. So it's really cool to see how from the open to the quarters to the semis, it really narrows it down to the guy who can do it all: skills, strength, aerobic.
Well, actually, so looking at this, just did some quick math. Everyone except for you in the top 10 was top 15 in the quarterfinals. The guy coming from 28th managed to get in the top 10. That's pretty nuts.
I
That's
thought
pretty
I
nuts.
could. I don't think I deserve to think I could, but um,
And so, yeah, and like you said, you've been working with Josh. Like, how has having like more of a like obviously everyone knows you're a coach,
yeah,
but how has that coach athlete relationship been? Would you say like that's a big part of like this kind of success?
yeah, massive. I for like I've been doing the Open since 2014, and until 2020, I never used a coach. I would just try to program my own stuff. And as much as you say you're working on your weaknesses, it wasn't even really about that. It was just Josh makes sure I get touches on everything I need to do every single week so that I'm making progress in every component of CrossFit, from aerobic to skill work to strength work to Olympic lifts, everything. And because I had such a short timeline from November 1st to May 1st, let's say, for the semis, I knew that from the open to the quarters, I could get a lot better because I had a month. And then I knew from the quarters to the semis, a month for me was like 15-20% of the total work I've done. So, yeah, I mean, I think I have a little bit of an advantage being like a coach myself is
Hmm.
and an experienced athlete. I know when either the training is volume's too much and I need to back off a little bit, and or I can push it. But yeah, having Josh in my corner, I think I talked to him about it because both of us didn't think that this would be the year. But we think it's because I've been working now following his program for 3 years. Every year I seem to just start at a higher spot than I start the previous year, even though I take 6 months off to do triathlon, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So,
Right.
um,
No. Yeah, and like I know that we chatted a little bit between the quarterfinals, semifinals. You had a little brief vacation in there, and then I know you're also doing your increase in training was pretty heavy. Like, what did you feel was the hardest part? Like, do you feel like doing the tests themselves were the hardest part? Was there a certain part of the lead up to it? Like, did you feel like there was a certain part where it was just like it was difficult, or did you enjoy the whole entire thing as you're kind of going through it?
yeah, that 3 weeks, Michelle and I went away for 5 days, like a long weekend right after quarters. It worked out decent because it was during like the recovery period from it anyways. But
Mm-hmm.
that 3 weeks when I got back, man, like I haven't trained that hard ever. I don't think. I was just getting all the work done, checking all the boxes. And I would say I was training like, not that time matters, but would say I was training like 3 to 4 hours a day, which I had never done, doing that 5 days a week. So that was new for me. And I guess my concern was, holy shit, like I'm not going to be able, even with a little taper, I'm not going to recover fully for semis, and I'm going to be blasted. But we kind of backed off the weekend before a little bit, just enough, and then had the week leading up. And then, yeah, I mean, the tests were hard. I had to go deep into the pain cave, but I feel like I had been so deep in the pain cave in all the workouts leading up that I was already, ready to flip the switch and dig deep. And my ability to work at my new threshold is so much better. So just being right on that limit, and it seems to be good enough now. Where in the past it was my threshold was kind of like just not good enough. and now it seems to be at the level it needs to be. And I'm able to hold that. So yeah, I would say the training leading up was just as bad or worse than the tests themselves. Which, hey, I'm sure most athletes would say that's probably what it takes.
Yeah, yeah. And so the semifinal weekend, you had 5 tests. It looks like, so looking at your scores, first workout you came fourth, and then the
Yeah.
part B, and most of the workouts had 2 parts. Second
5 seconds, 7 seconds out of first. We were all so close.
yeah, like most
Wild.
of it is pretty close.
Sure.
The part B of that was 18th. Your worst finish was workout 2,
Yeah, the
and which
thrusters
was
and
the
the
thruster
muscle
one, and then 12th, a 22nd, and a second.
up.
So yeah, so like as you've said before, and I think as most people who follow you, like the endurance piece is definitely one of your wheelhouse workouts, and the grunt piece, and yeah, like you said, for the second, test B 1B, which was the snatches, 18th, right? That's probably, Josh would say, that's damage control event. That's a
That's
pretty
right.
good, yeah.
The one I was mad about was test two, the muscle ups and thrusters. I guess
Mm.
I'd never trained that. I never thought about doing 4 minutes of thrusters in a row in training. So that was a totally new feeling.
Yes,
Um,
yeah. So for listeners, that was 5 minutes of thrusters and muscle ups. You could do whatever you wanted, but you had to have 15 of each done to get a score. So most
think most
athletes
people
did muscle ups first and then thrusters. But yeah, that was a tough one. It looks like, yeah. What do you got? You have
I got
60 reps.
60. So
First place was 81, and you got 60.
yeah, and like I screwed up my 15th muscle up, so that was like 10 seconds. I missed it. And then so I had to jump back up and get one more. So that was like 10, maybe 15 seconds. So at best, I would have got one more set of 3. So I would have got 63 reps, which, like,
3 spots.
yeah, barely anything. So yeah, that was an eye opener for me. I mean, a 135 thruster is probably significantly heavier for me than it is for a few of the big dogs. So that
Mm.
makes sense. My ring muscle ups are decent. Like,
Yeah.
probably not as good as the best, but comparable to the norm.
Yeah, the leaderboard, I mean, let's start talking about the games, I guess. Like when we look at the leaderboard, right, you have Scott and Rich on the top, and they're far, no offense to anybody, but they're pretty far
Their
ahead. They're
points
almost
are way ahead.
100 points ahead of everyone else. And like, yeah, Scott got 2 firsts, a second, and then 2 sixths. So like, and I think Rich got third almost every single time. So like, we're talking about like podium contenders, but the rest of the group is all pretty close, within sort of striking distance of each other. So I guess, looking forward, like I guess first question is like, what are you most looking forward to? Like you're going to the CrossFit Games as an age group competitor. Um, I know that age group competition does get a lot of screen time, so you don't really get to see it as much as you see the elites. But how are you feeling? What are you looking forward to most?
I've always loved the games workouts. I've always thought that, man, like, and I know the age group athletes do slightly different tests because we're not going to be, climbing up the building with sandbags. I'm not going to shut that down for us. But I mean, maybe they do. I haven't even looked at last year's, so I should do that. But I
Let's do
remember
that right now.
watching the games last year. I just can't wait to. I can swim. I can run. I can bike. I can, flip a pig. Like, that stuff is like what I've always wanted to do. I've just never got there because just the
Right.
skills and the big lift and that stuff, held me back from getting there. So I'm super excited to get the chance to show off some of those tools. I need to get stronger. Luckily, I have 3 months. I got to keep building just like my Olympic lifting and just my all around strength, which I have time to do. And
Is that the focus?
strength and skill. Yeah. So uh, I'm going to keep building my aerobic work because on the bike, swim, bike, run. Um, and then strength and skill is the big focus. And I think skill, maybe, what we think of normal CrossFit skills might go out the window a bit, and it might be like skills that we see at the games, if you know what I mean. Like the difference between. So we'll be focusing on strength and skill for the most part.
Cool. Yeah, because it's so fun. Let's look at some of the workouts from last year and the year before. So last year was 8 workouts. The year before was 9.
Even in age group?
Yeah. So get ready for
shit,
so get ready for 2 to 3 workouts per day. I believe it's a 3-day competition, and you have 2 to 3 workouts per day. That looks pretty consistent across actually each year. Yeah, and the year before was 3 per day. So 2022. Yeah, there's a run, 1,400-meter run, rope climbs, DB shoulder overheads, 1,200-meter run, rope climbs, shoulder overhead. So, aerobic. And then max bike calories in 5 minutes, 1 rep max weighted pull up, 1 rep max front squat. That was actually an interesting one. That was a cool strength test. Then there's like what you said before, skills chipper. So like pegboard, extends. That's actually something you never get to do until you're at the games. So that'll be cool. So that was the pegboard, double under, handstand push up, the single leg squats, the GHDs, the handstand walk, the little course, right? And then I think usually, right, you're gonna be in the pool. So last year was like the 50-yard swim and the erg, and every single, I know last year that was the cool thing, was every single person that competed at the games did the exact same workout, which was that workout. So you had to go across the pool and then ski. That was a cool interval based workout. And then they did a kind of a capital workout with the Husafel carry and wall ball shots, but it was just a little bit different. But they didn't get to do the capital, but the jerry bag carry, the wall ball shot, sled push, the grunt workout, like you said, for yourself.
Yeah, nice.
We have some muscle ups and some sprints. So I mean, for sure, no matter what, like the super exciting thing as a fan, as a friend of yours, is like you get to see you like do things that you can't just do in the gym, right? Like you're going to have a parallel bar and you can traverse it or something like that. Or you're going to do some of these like really cool sandbag-ish kind of stuff, which is pretty exciting. I mean, I can imagine for you it's super exciting.
But very exciting. Yeah, I think that's the dream when people think, oh, I want to go to the CrossFit Games. Like you want to do all those implements that you're never going to have the logistics to set up at your gym. So I'm pumped for that.
Yeah.
Pumped for that.
And even like there was an event the year before, there was a 500-meter swim. That was the test. So like stuff like that, like you'll crush it. And even like just 5 rounds for time, 1 legless rope climb, 5 deadlifts. So those are the types of workouts that we want to see for Coach ADJ for sure.
Yes. Yeah, and I'm not like a world-class swimmer, don't get me wrong. It's just there's not many world-class CrossFit swimmers.
No, I think, no offense to Sam Dancer, but I think you can take him in a 500-meter swim.
I have a lot more muscle mass than triathletes, but less than Sam Dancer. Let's
Yeah. So like we'll finish with this. Like, what is the goal? Like I know you said the goal was to go to the CrossFit Games, so tick that off the box. So do you change your mindset? What do you do approaching this? Do you just kind of go back to the process and start working out and doing what you've been doing? Like, do you kind of change a goal, add a goal?
I have a lot of time, so I'm gonna keep training as much and as hard as I can. Josh is gonna make an awesome plan for me. We're working together because I knew this was a stretch goal. I actually have an Ironman, half Ironman at the end of June. So I'm going to train as much as I need to for that, which is going to actually carry over a lot to the games. But I'll probably train more than I should, like if I was just training for the games. So I'm going to have that aerobic work, swim, bike, run, which is going to be fine. And then I'm going to have all that strength and skill work. So I have another 7 or 8 weeks after 7 weeks after the Ironman to specifically prep for the games. So dial it in even more. Yeah, I'm interested to see what's possible with 3 more months of training. I haven't done a 9-month CrossFit training block in 5 years since I started doing Ironman. So it'll be cool. Get my strength to, the highest level it's been, which was probably pre-Ironman. Get my my skill work is already at a level that it's never been at, so that's pretty cool. That keeps getting better every year. And then just keep building that like raw strength with the sandbags and the farmer's carries and some of that nasty stuff that we're gonna see at the games.
Awesome.
So,
that's cool.
I'd say my stretch goal, probably shouldn't, but would love to stand on the podium. I think, it's so funny because
surprise, we all knew you would say that.
People have already said that to me. They're like, so you're going to get on the podium? And it's like, guys, like, I'm just lucky to be here. So anyway, I think the stretch goal will be to get on the podium. If everything aligns, we'll see what the workouts are. Train as hard as I can. I'm not going there to, like the cliche, to have fun. I don't think anyone in the top 10 is going there just to enjoy the experience. It's going to be 3 days of like giving it absolutely everything I have to see how good I can do against those 10 guys. I mean, they're just a bunch of 35 to 39-year-old old guys, right?
Yeah, just doing fitness for fun.
That's right. We're all just doing fitness for fun. We got families, we got careers.
Yeah.
But anyways, it's going to be so fun. I have such an amazing, the Limitless community is like so pumped. I never would have imagined. I always forget that, like, how excited people get when, something like this happens. So I found out like today that everyone had, like, not everyone, lots of people have hotel rooms booked and stuff. They didn't want to tell me because they didn't want to jinx it, but I'm finding out. I'm like, you got to get your hotels booked. They're like, no, we already have them booked. So that's so cool. So I can't wait for all the support. Everyone's going to be making sure I train hard between now and then.
For sure.
So yeah, can't wait.
Oh, cool. Congrats to Josh. I know his mammoth crew is starting to really. I think this year will be an interesting year for his crew. Emma obviously has her eyes on the podium, or if not the title. I know Jack has his eyes on making it to the games. We'll see him next week in Orlando at semifinals, and then you've already booked your tickets. So congrats to Josh.
Josh has some secret sauce, man. I don't know what it is, but it's pretty cool. I'm excited to see these youngsters crush it at semis.
Maybe there'll be a training camp where the old guy and the youngsters get together and throw down. Maybe that's how you can test your fitness. If you can beat Emma.
No, I'm not comparing myself to them. That's not fair. That's not fair.
Yeah. But yeah, congratulations, and that's I can't wait. It's been awesome. And so
wait. August 1st to 3rd, right? I think it's the Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday for the age group.
We'll see how it's an exciting time for CrossFit. Obviously, the semifinals are just around the corner, so definitely get lots of CrossFit fix there, and then a little bit of pause before the big show. So
amazing.
All right, thanks for sitting down. Ooh. I'm sure you have another interview, but
lined up, back to back. Well, I'm going for a swim.
Okay, good.
Pool.
Okay, good.
Bike ride this morning, 50K ride, and then to the pool this afternoon.
Cool. Yeah, and maybe we'll get a little road to the games video series going on as we get through. Ooh, that'd be cool. Let's document this journey.
I like that idea.
Cool. Thanks everyone for listening. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
We'll talk to you later. Bye.